Hello, hello, Azala Foss here. As we get closer to Halloween, YouTube's infinite ocean of content begins to flood with a platform staple, the horror game Let's Plays. From the recent Silent Hill 2 remake to titles such as Into the Back Rooms, content creators across the algorithm rejoice in the annual tradition of jump scare screams and deep lore analysis. What's that? Am I gonna participate? Oh, well, you know I would, but I've been meaning to review these Holostars games for a while, you know? I can't have my Oshis waiting. Your Oshis don't know you exist. Duty calls. Okay, fine, I'll admit it. At least one of these games isn't really horror. But I do think it deserves some spotlight. And what's that game called? It's Protostar Twilight, a Holostars fan game created by Tactical Elysium, a group of Stars fans that make tactical SRPG fanworks based on the boys. While originally unaffiliated with Holo Indie, the game recently joined in September of this year and has made its debut on Steam on October 16th. There are also versions of the game on itch.io and a Windows-only version available from Tactical Elysium's Twitter. As the game devs clearly state in their marketing, Protostar Twilight is heavily inspired by old-school Fire Emblem titles, from its incredibly accurate character sprites to the grid-based game maps. Much like modern FE titles, however, players can choose to have a more classic experience of permadeath for KO'd units versus the more casual and forgiving mode where the units simply are taken off the field. The amount of detail and care taken into emulating each of the Tempest Boys' personalities is amazing, and the Tactical Elysium team are more than deserving of their accolades in this regard. Remember what I mentioned earlier about this not being a horror game? While still true, there are some aspects of Protostar Twilight's story that touch upon darker themes, and some elements of body horror. The game dev writers have done well with crafting an original adventure for the Tempest Guild, and placing stakes that are meaningful for both characters and players alike. Moments of levity help to even out the story's tone, with some moments being more subtle than others. As with any creative project, there are some rough edges of Protostar Twilight I'm hoping the game devs will improve upon in their next title. For one thing, the actual stats and builds for the characters felt slightly unbalanced, with some units feeling overpowered. Shinri was a one-shot killer for much of my playtime in the game. While that's accurate to the stats provided in their debut stat cards, I would have liked something to even out those odds. I'll admit this may be something that's resolved when switching to a harder difficulty, so keep that in mind. The only other thing that I felt could have been smoothed out were the rules of the game's world. A major part of the story revolves around a mystery involving the game's main setting. While some aspects of this are hinted in the Easter eggs left on the game maps, I still don't feel sure that I understand how it adds up in relation to the antagonist's backstory. I won't be spoiling anything, of course, and I'm hopeful that Tactical Elysium will have more resources to refine this aspect going forward. As of this recording, Tactical Elysium are working on their next tactical SRPG, centered primarily on the Armis boys from Holostars EN. If you're interested in any of the mentioned works, and would like to keep yourself updated, I highly recommend following Tactical Elysium on Twitter. Protostar Twilight is free, so by all means, go out and try it for yourself. Now it's time to shine a light on the true horror title, and if you can believe it, it was officially made and released by Cover itself. Imagine yourself in 2023. It's October, and the Holostars EN boys have been hinting at an upcoming project. Then, on the fated day, the official Holostars Twitter puts out a teaser trailer for Doppelganger, a horror visual novel starring the Tempest Guild. Okay, you know how absolutely mind-blowing this is, right? Though it's far from a AAA game title, the fact that the Holostars boys had enough interest to get this huge project off the ground was such an awesome moment for the Stars fans. Now, almost 1 year later, I'm finally more financially stable to spend the absorbent price of $12.99. That was a lot for me back then, okay? So, what can a Stars fan expect to see from this Holo-EN visual novel? Well, surprisingly, there's a whole lot of pain and terror that awaits you behind each door your player character must choose from at the game's start. I suppose that's to be expected of a horror title, but the amount of not safe stuff to say on YouTube things that happen is something I didn't expect Cover as a company to explore. Fans who are more on the squeamish side may want to watch a playthrough of the game before thinking of purchasing it to see if the game's horror aspects are enough for them to stomach. Much like Protostar Twilight, however, the dark scenes are given levity by the moments of humor, a much-needed breather between the fairly depressing events that befall the player. If I have to pick a favorite route from the 6 presented, I'd pick Fleon's route. Aside from his voice acting, which was guaranteed to be great from the outset, the writing did well at escalating the tension throughout the narrative, with a shockingly gruesome ending. The other routes of the game are great as well, and I enjoyed that the writers were able to flip the boys' personalities on their heads in order to show the horrific aspects of their doppelgangers. It's very clear how much passion and effort went into the making of the visual novel, including bits of each VTuber's lore and Easter eggs throughout. It makes sense, as much of the game's development and creation was done by the Mane-sans of Cover. I hope that this is a sign for more similar projects to come, not just for Holostars, but even for Hololive. The Doppelganger visual novel can be purchased on Steam and itch.io for $12.99, and I highly recommend Tempura and Starman's consider checking out the game if they're up for it. So, what do you all think? Were there any moments or aspects of today's games that you want to gush about? Let me know down in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe if you're so kind. Look forward to one more spooky themed video for the remainder of this month. If you want to keep yourself updated on that video, follow my Twitter or Blue Sky accounts, listed in the description below. I hope to see y'all again soon. Toodaloo!